A pleasant day, grade 9 Socrates. Today we will be having another lesson, and that is all about special parallelograms. So what are those special parallelograms? We have the rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. Last meeting we discussed the different properties of a parallelogram. This time we'll be having or we'll be discussing the different properties of the different types of special parallelograms, which are the rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. The objectives of this presentation are the following. Number 1, use properties of sides and angles of rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. Number 2, use properties of diagonals of rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. Let us have a short recap on the properties of special parallelograms. Actually, we already discussed this in the discussion of the schematic diagram of quadrilaterals, but we'll be touching this for recap. You will study 3 special types of parallelograms, which are the rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. Actually, these 3, rhombuses, rectangles, and squares are all parallelograms. These are special parallelograms. Let's start with a rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. So that's the property of a parallelogram. All sides are equal, meaning if the measurement of one side of a parallelogram is equal to 10 centimeters, then the measurement of all the sides of a parallelogram are all 10 centimeters. Then the next one is a rectangle. A rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles, meaning all the sides are right angles and the measurement of a right angle is always 90 degrees. So that means if this is 90, then the 3 other angles are also 90 degrees. So that's the property of a rectangle. Okay? So once again, in a rhombus, all sides are equal or sides are congruent, while in a rectangle, all angles are equal or all angles are right angles. Okay? But it doesn't necessarily mean that in a rhombus, kung magkakamukha ang lahat ng sides, hindi ibig sabihin ay magkakamukha ang lahat ng angles. Okay? The same is true with rectangle. Kung magkakamukha ang lahat ng angles, hindi ibig sabihin ay magkakamukha ang lahat ng sides. Pero, pag pinagsama natin yung dalawang special properties ni rhombus at saka ni rectangle, makakabuo tayo ng regular quadrilateral. And that is a square. A square is a parallelogram with 4 congruent angles and 4 congruent sides. Meaning, the properties of a rhombus and a rectangle combined. Okay? So, si square, lahat ng angles niya magkakamukha, lahat ng sides niya magkakamukha. Okay? So, here is a Venn diagram to show the relationships of these 3 special parallelograms. Please memorize or please know this Venn diagram, the relationship. Each shape has the properties of every group that it belongs to. For instance, a square is a rectangle, a rhombus, and a parallelogram. So it has all the properties of those shapes. Alright. So as you can see, the bigger one, all these are parallelograms. Kaya nasa loob sila ng parallelograms. Si rhombus, si rectangle, si square, and parallelograms. Nasa malaki silang shape na to. And then, inside these shapes are another shapes. As you can see, we have here an oval for rhombuses. So these are the different types of rhombuses, and another oval for rectangles. And these 2 ovals ay mayroon silang intersection. And this intersection, makikita natin si squares. Makikita natin ang mga squares. Okay, so this is the Venn diagram for special parallelograms. Example 1. Describing a special parallelograms. Decide whether the statement is always, sometimes, or never true. Using this Venn diagram, we can answer these statements. Pwede natin sabihin kung always, sometimes, or never true ito. Okay? Number 1, a rhombus is a rectangle. Ang rhombus daw ba ay rectangle? What is the answer here? Always ba yun? Sometimes, or never true? The answer is sometimes. Only if the rhombus is a square. So, nagiging rectangle lang ang rhombus kapag siya ay square. Next statement. A parallelogram is a rectangle. The answer is sometimes, because some parallelograms are rectangles. Alright. Rectangles. Using properties of special parallelograms. ABCD is a rectangle. What else do you know about ABCD? Because ABCD is a rectangle, it has 4 right angles by definition. So lahat yan ay 90 degrees right angles. The definition also states that rectangles are parallelograms. So ABCD has all the properties of a parallelogram. Alright. So what are the properties of a parallelogram? Opposite sides are parallel and congruent. Yung magkatapat na sides, parallel sa isa't isa and at the same time, congruent. Yan. So we have 2 pairs of opposite and parallel sides. Next, opposite angles are congruent and consecutive angles are supplementary. So, totoo ba yun? Opposite sides are congruent, opposite, magkatapat, parehas 90. Then yung magkasunod, supplementary. Ibig sabihin ng supplementary, when you add it up, the sum is 180 degrees. So, that's true because 90 plus 90 is 180 and 90 is equal to 90. Diagonals bisect each other. Take note, a rectangle is defined as a parallelogram with 4 right angles. Parallelogram din siya with 4 right angles. But any quadrilateral with 4 right angles is a rectangle because any quadrilateral with 4 right angles is a parallelogram. So lahat daw ng quadrilateral na may 4 na right angles, sila ay rectangle. Dahil kahit na anong quadrilateral na mayroong 4 na right angle ay parallelogram pa rin. So, here are the corollaries about special quadrilaterals. Tanda ang mabuti. Rhombus corollary. A quadrilateral is a rhombus if and only if it has 4 congruent sides. Yan. So, rhombus daw, ayan, siya kapag meron siyang 4 congruent sides. Matatawag lang natin na rhombus ang isang quadrilateral kung meron siyang 4 na magkakamukhang sides. How about the rectangle corollary? A quadrilateral is a rectangle if and only if it has 4 right angles. Again, matatawag lang na rectangle ang isang quadrilateral kung meron siyang 4 na right angles. Review. Rhombus, matatawag lang siya na rhombus kung meron siyang 4 na magkakamukhang sides. Alright. Square. A quadrilateral is a square if and only if it is a rhombus and a rectangle at the same time. Ayan. Square lang siya kung rhombus at saka rectangle siya at the same time. Ibig sabihin, meron siyang 4 na magkakamukhang side at the same time, meron siyang 4 na magkakamukhang angles. Next, you can use this to prove that a quadrilateral is a rhombus, rectangle, or square without proving first that the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Alright. So, all these 3 corollaries can be used. Pwede natin daw itong gamitin para i-prove na ang isang quadrilateral ay rhombus, rectangle, or square. Kahit hindi na natin i-prove yung isang figure na yon ay quadrilateral ay parallelogram. Ibig sabihin, kahit hindi mo nasabihin na parallelogram yung figure na yon, pwede mong gamitin yung corollaries ng mga special parallelograms na yon para masabi na siya ay rhombus, rectangle, or square. So, theorems for rhombus, special parallelogram. So, take note that a rhombus is a special parallelogram. Here are the different theorems. A parallelogram is a rhombus if and only if its diagonals are perpendicular. Theorem ito, no? Ang isa daw parallelogram ay rhombus kapag ang mga diagonals nito ay nakaka-form ng right angles. Ayan. So, as you can see in the figure, we have two diagonals here and their point of intersection form a right angle. ABCD is a rhombus if and only if AC is perpendicular to BD. So AC is a diagonal and BD is also a diagonal and they formed a right angle. Another theorems for rhombus. A parallelogram is a rhombus if and only if each diagonal bisects a pair of opposite angles. Okay. So, we have here a diagonal BD. Diagonal BD bisect angle B and angle D. What do we mean by bisecting? Bisecting meaning it divides the angle into two congruent portions. Like for example, if the measurement of angle D is equal to 130 degrees, then as you draw a diagonal here, you'll be forming two different angles. So if this is 130, the whole measurement of angle B, the measurement of each angles formed will be 65 degrees. So nahahati niya into two congruent parts yung mga angles ng isang rhombus, yung diagonal yun. Next, ABCD is a rhombus if and only if AC bisects angle DAB. Ayan, AC. Binisect niya si ADB. Binisect niya si DAB, at binisecting niya si BCD. And then, BD bisects. BD is another diagonal and it bisects ADC, and ABC. Right. Using properties of a rhombus. In the diagram at the right, PQRS is a rhombus. What is the value of Y? Ayan. Alam natin na itong figure na nasa kanan ay rhombus. And we know the different properties of a rhombus. Given that PQ or PS is 2y plus 3 and SR is 5y minus 6. Tinatanong yung value ni Y. So, alam natin na si PS at saka si SR magkamukha. So, from that, we can equate 5y minus 6 and 2y plus 3. So, 5y minus 6 equals 2y plus 3. And then, we solve for y. Applying the addition property, we add positive 6 to both sides of the equation. So, we'll be having 5y equals 2y plus 9. And then, subtract 2y from each side. We'll be having 3y equals 9 because 5y minus 2y is 3y. Then, divide each side by 3. You will be having the value of y which is equal to 3. Since 3y divided by 3 is y, then 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that's the value of y there, 3. So we already know how to apply the different properties of a rhombus in solving problems involving rhombuses. Theorems for rectangles. Another type of special parallelogram. A parallelogram is a rectangle if and only if its diagonals are congruent. Ayan. So, kapag rectangle naman, magkamukha ang kanilang mga diagonals. And they also bisect one another. Meaning, hinahati nila ang isa't isa sa magkamukhang part. Here is an example of a problem applying the properties of a rectangle. So, suppose that we have here a rectangle ABCD with diagonals DB and AC with point of intersection at F. Given that angle DBA is 9x plus 2, DBA is equal to 9x plus 2, and CBD is equal to 2x. Find CBD. Ayan. Find angle CBD. So we have to solve first for the value of x. We know that DBA and CBD are complementary. Ibig sabihin, when you add these two angles, the sum is equal to 90 degrees. So ABC is 90 degrees. Therefore, when you add 9x plus 2 plus 2x, you equate it to 90. Then we solve for x. Simplifying it further, 9 plus 2, 9x plus 2x is 11x plus 2 equals 90. And then, we add negative 2 to both sides of the equation. So, 11x equals 88. Then, divide the whole equation by x or by 11. So, x now is equal to 8. So, x equals 8. Since we are solving for CBD, we simply plug x into the expression. CBD is equal to 2x. So that's 2 times 8 and that is equal to 16. Okay. So that's it for today. I hope that you learned something from our discussion. Keep safe everyone. Please stay at home. Happy learning. God bless.